gentlelady yields back, the chair recognizes the gentlelady from Vermont, Ms. Balint.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. As you know, Ms. Dixon, in March and April of 2020, we experienced really an unprecedented economic shock. 22 million people lost their jobs. Millions of people suddenly found themselves without an income. And in April in 2020, when I was a leader in the Vermont Senate, we saw Vermont's seasonally adjusted unemployment rate go up to 15.6%, which was up 12% from the year before. So thankfully, Congress stepped in and helped us to expand the unemployment insurance. And as you said, and as others have said, it was an absolute lifeline for families and individuals. So my question is, without unemployment insurance programs, how would individuals and families be able to respond to such an economic crisis? Like, what happens without these kinds of funds to allow individuals and families to stay afloat?
It's not necessarily well known, but the unemployment insurance is the first line of defense against poverty and homelessness. It is the only universal cash program that we have that provides cash to working families when they lose a job. There is nothing else. And what we saw in the Great Recession when folks were exhausting their benefits is the other program that they turned to was the SNAP program, and there really was nothing else. And so it just can't be stressed enough how critical this program is to making sure that families can maintain while they search for work.
I really appreciate that distinction, and I think we can't overstress it. I know for me, having worked directly with individuals and families, thousands of Vermonters, that is exactly what I was hearing from my own constituents. So when we think about unemployment insurance programs and how they assist workers in job searches, do job searches change when an individual is benefiting from an unemployment insurance benefit?
The benefit has many important qualities. One is that it allows workers to actually match with jobs that match their skills. So they're not trying to take the first possible thing that is offered to them, which is not good for the economy because those folks' skills are being unused. So it does give them the breathing room to find a good match that is going to be close to the salary that they were receiving before they lost their job.
And I would assume that not only would those skills go unused, but when you have a worker who is mismatched, they're much less likely to stay in that job. So exacerbating this cycle of turnover, which we know is not good for employers, it's not good for employees or families. And is that the case? Do we see that there's a connection there with job churn?
There absolutely is, and we've heard employers loud and clear, particularly in some of the industries that were hardest hit in the pandemic, the service industry, the restaurant industry, where workers have actually left those industries entirely to go to other industries because better conditions and better pay. And so if a worker takes a job, we want them to actually be able to stay in that job, advance in that job. So it's important to them and their families, just as it's important to employers to have stability in the role that they're in.
Thank you. Just one more question. From your perspective, from your experience and your research and the work that you do in your position, why do you think we need to continue to invest in and modernize state unemployment insurance systems? Because we heard in the earlier testimony how there was a breakdown there. So would love to hear from you, from your perspective, why that is so important.
So about a decade ago, I did a report that was a deep dive on unemployment insurance administration and the impact on being able to pay benefits. And what I found then was that the average UI benefits IT system was 26 years old. That was 10 years ago. And at the time, the oldest one was 46 years old. And so it is critical for us to invest, to actually put the money in. So usually when there's a crisis like this pandemic, there's investment in unemployment, there's investment in the IT systems, there's investment in administration, But then as soon as the economy recovers, we take our foot off the gas. And we really need to keep our foot on the gas for this program. We need to actually make the changes that are needed so that these systems function correctly all the time, whether it is one family who's suffering unemployment or it is millions of people suffering unemployment.
Thank you so much. I yield back.
The gentlelady's time has expired. The